pleased and honored to have all the special people that is attending with us for such a very important and key event. Just to give you a brief about event today, we are having our dear guests here in Muscat, and also we are having our dear guests in Salala and Sohar. For us, this is the most important and the biggest event we ever done as Nestle Nutrition Oman here. And actually, this is something that we are really keen about, which is delivering the most important and the most recent update and all the science behind all the nutritional products that we are having here in Oman. We are so proud that we are introducing the most relevant to your practice. Something is relevant to the infant nutrition. However, definitely as our important mission that we are having all the time, which is we are supporting 100% the breastfeeding. So for everyone, please keep on doing the same practice, because this is the most important for the kid and for the mother as well. And as you know, this is irreversible. If the mother decided not to continue having the breastfeeding, this cannot be reversed, unfortunately. Today is very, very special. We are having a lot of our dear guests, Dr. Ahmed Al-Baledi, for sure, coming from Egypt. We have Dr. Said Al-Blushi, is coming from Sohar. Thanks also for Dr. Muhammad Al-Yahmadi, who will be our moderator here in Muscat. Thanks to Dr. Ammar Al-Zijali in Sohar. He will be also handling the moderation in Sohar. And Dr. Nail Al-Qawa, he will be handling also from Salala. So today is 25, the second month, 2025. So it's like even the number is very special. We are celebrating today the innovation, and also we will listen to the most updated topics that we will hear from our eminent speakers that we will be talking today. And also we are honored that we are having all our guests coming from our Nestle Nutrition team from Saudi, our General Operation Manager, Dr. Hassan Ali, Dr. Mustafa Samir, who I will handle the mic also to now. He's the Medical and Scientific Affairs Manager for all Central Arabia cluster. And our colleague also, Taqi Al-Lawati, he's the brand manager for NAN, handling also the same cluster. And Taqi Al-Lawati, actually, he's Omani, but he's based in Saudi. So we are trying to keep him here in Oman, so please help me, guys. Without any delay, we will start our program now. So I'll be handing the mic over to my colleague, Dr. Mustafa Samir. Please, doctor.
So, good evening, everyone. I'm really proud and honored to be with you today. And on behalf of Nestle Nutrition team, would like to thank you so much, our dear healthcare professional here in Muscat, in Sohar, and in Salala, to come and to see such a beautiful gathering, to share with us such special moments in our important milestone and the important launch for today. So thanks again. Very happy to be with you today to share some experiences, to know more about the innovative aspects by Nestle and the new milestone we have in our product. But before I begin, I have some important notes to highlight on. First, that breast milk is the best. We all agree on that. And in Nestle, we strongly believe in this. We're just not saying just words. We strongly believe in that because it includes all the ideal balanced nutrition need for the babies in their early life to ensure the healthy growth from different aspects. So this is my first message. Other opening remarks is that Nestle has a big heritage over more than 155 years with many innovations and leading on innovation and the science behind this innovation through a multiple research centers across the world in different regions, working day and night to have our product with a scientific based evidence and to have a very good and high quality and safe product when it comes to our babies. So we are a trusted company by science and research, and Nestle always giving a priority for the science and research. This is our core as well. So, in the sake of time, welcome again, and I promise you to be witness on the very nice and hot topics. Especially, we have a unique speakers and the chairpersons here in Muscat, also in Sohar and Salala. And I would like here, in the sake of time, to invite our chairperson in Muscat, Dr. Mohammed Yahmadi, the head of pediatric department in Khawla Hospital, to give his opening and to start introducing our first speaker and to start and to moderate the day. So thank you so much.
السلام عليكم. Okay. السلام عليكم. Um, um, First of all, I would like to welcome you all today for today's activity, and I hope that to see you all like gaining the maximum knowledge from today's activity. I would like to thank the organizers here, Mustafa, Fadi, and their team for organizing this committee today. And I think I'll go ahead with the first speech with Dr. Ahmed Blady. Dr. Ahmed Blady is a well-known figure, speaker, like like international speaker. He has he's professor of pediatrics in Cairo University in Egypt, and he's like a known speaker internationally. He will be talking about the science behind 5 HMOs. HMOs are probably going to be the future. It's a fast-growing field for the last 10 to 15 years. We will, I'm sure with time, so many things will be uncovered about HMOs. Please welcome Dr. Ahmed Blady. Be careful. The slow مش حلو معنا.
ده ما اقدرش عشان انا مقصوف الرقبه زي ما انت عارف فما ينفعش. السلام عليكم جميعا. ما شاء الله ده القاعه مليانه. Anybody who doesn't speak Arabic, please raise your hand so that okay. So we will stick to totally English, hopefully. Can I have a microphone instead of this? Because okay, thank you. Yeah, come on. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here in Oman. Very quiet city. For those who didn't visit Egypt, we are very crowded. Cairo is at least 20 million people before the political conflicts and the immigrations and so on. So probably in Cairo we have 25 million. That's why we never sleep. It's always crowded. So when I look to the streets, oh my God, nobody is there. It's a very nice change for me at least. What's not changing is my talk about the HMOs in infant nutrition, and I'll try to do it in a more or less frequently asked questions. And there are 16 questions. And what's HMOs? By human milk oligosaccharides. We all know this. Are they really human? And the answer is no, like human insulin. When we say human insulin, it is not derived from the humans. It's not like the blood or the plasma, no. So it's manufactured to be exactly like the human insulin. And the same for the HMOs. They are exactly identical. That's why some people suggested to call to call it HEMO instead of HMO, but the most famous name would be the time-honored HMOs. Is it something new? No. The answer is no. It's a very long history. In fact, more than a century, where pediatricians and microbiologists, on one hand, they were working while the chemists were working again, but in a different direction. So you can see very old from the 1886, where we knew as a pediatricians, not me, my seniors, of course, the intestinal bacteria and their impact on the physiology. Then came that the breastfed is different from the formula fed. Then we talked as a pediatricians about something called bifidus factors. Surprisingly, at the same time, the chemists were characterizing something. They believe it's a carbohydrate present in the human milk, and they call it genolactose. And the genolactose they talked about is the same bifidus factor. And these are the HMOs that we are talking about today. What's the structure of the HMOs? HMOs, human milk oligosaccharides. So what do you mean by oligo? Oligo means scanty or few. The question is, what scanty is scanty? What do you mean? The number. Is it 1? Is it 2? No. 1 is a monosaccharide. Then you will be surprised that something very basic in biochemistry, like oligo or polysaccharides, there is no clear definition. Some references say between 2 and 10 monosaccharides. Others say no, 3 to 15, less than 20, less than 25. But we are sure of there is no oligosaccharides who are having 25 monosaccharides. So you are talking between 3 and 20 or 25. The units, the monosaccharide units that creates the HMOs are 5. Glucose, galactose, together they make the lactose, fucose, sialic acid, and N-acetylglucosamine. And you can make from these 5 units whatever you want, unlimited number, by elongation and branching. So you have just 5 monosaccharides and you can create a lot. You use certain enzymes. In fact, the body uses certain enzymes. For example, we have something called 2FL and 3FL by certain enzymes called FUT, fucosyltransferase 2, or fucosyltransferase 3. It's all about the terminal monosaccharide. What we mean by terminal monosaccharide? We agree that at certain point, if you added more monosaccharides, you will go into polysaccharide, not oligosaccharides anymore. So you need to put one of the monosaccharides at the end. And according to this one, the oligosaccharide will be labeled. If it is fucose, it's called fucosylated oligosaccharide. If it is sialic acid, it would be sialylated. If N-acetylglucosamine, it will be acetylated. So the 3 types of HMOs. But there are more than 200 structures, as I mentioned before. And the acidic ones, they contain sialic acid. While the neutral ones, they do not contain sialic acid, but if they contain fucose, they are called fucosylated. If they don't, they called acetylated. So we have plenty of HMOs in the human breast milk. So the question number 5, human milk is rich in HMOs, true or false? I'm sure everybody knows that it is true. HMOs are the 3rd largest solid component in human breast milk, more than the proteins. Question number 6, all mothers produce the same amounts of HMOs? No, this is not true. In fact, some mothers produce more than others. And in fact, the same mother would produce in early lactation different than late lactation. So it changes with the course of lactation. All mothers produce the same types of HMOs? Again, this is false. There are many factors that affect the HMOs that will be produced in the breast milk. Some of them are genetic, some of them are non-genetic. But the most important are the genetic ones. We have 2 genes. One is called secretory gene, SE gene, and the other is called Lewis gene. And SE gene encodes for the enzyme that I mentioned earlier, which is the FUT2, while the LE gene encodes for the so-called FUT3, fucosyltransferase number 3. So we have genetic and non-genetic factors. We have 4 types of mothers, either secretory positive, Lewis positive, secretory positive, Lewis negative, secretory negative, Lewis positive, and finally secretory negative, Lewis negative. So these are the combinations. We have 4 mothers, and they have different set of enzymes. Some of them, the FUT2 is active, some of them, the FUT3 is not active, and accordingly, the types of milk oligosaccharides will be determined by these 2 genes. But if you look, the Lewis negative should not have 3FL because it lacks the FUT3 enzyme. But there was a compensatory mechanism with other fucosyltransferases that led us to see the 3FL even in Lewis negative mothers. 80% of the ladies are secretory positive, regardless of the Lewis gene. So as you can see, the milks will be different, and the milk of the secretor mothers is very rich in what we call 2FL. This is the big balloon, while on the other side, the non-secretors, they do not have this 2FL. The question number 8, HMOs are digestible. True or false? Definitely false. Why? The HMOs, they are not digestible. We do not have the HMOs for nutrition value. In fact, for more important items like immunity, like gut comfort, like as I will show you now. So these HMOs go into the colon where there is bacteria there. They will be interact together to produce the short-chain fatty acids. And short-chain fatty acids will produce a plethora of functions that we'll see now. Question number 9, don't be happy, because there are 16 questions, but the question number 16 is very long. So don't think that we will finish now. Cow's milk is a poor source of oligosaccharides. What do you think? Definitely yes. Different. Cow's milk in general is different in quantity and the quality of the oligosaccharides. So the cows, because simply the cows need to feed a baby cow, not a baby human. And you can see the number of oligosaccharides, the amount of oligosaccharides, the percentages of different types of oligosaccharides are quite different between human and bovine milk. You will have different numbers with different references. Another reference will give you different number, but the concept is the same, that human milk is rich in HMOs, bovine milk is not rich in HMOs. The safety of HMOs in infants' formula is still questionable. True or false? Definitely false. Safety first. The safety of any ingredient added to the infant formula should be guaranteed, and it's not questionable. The HMOs took the FDA approval and the European Food Safety Agency approval. They have GRAS status, generally recognized as safe. All HMOs are present in equal amounts. We mentioned that this is not true. And you can see we have the 2FL, which is the biggest balloon. Then comes different types of HMOs. So the milk is very heterogeneous, and the different types do not exist in the same quantity. So why the industry focused at the beginning on the 2FL? You remember at the beginning, milk formulas contain one component, one HMO, which is the 2FL, simply because, in fact, it is the most frequent, present in almost 80% of ladies' milk. It's the most abundant, 30% of the all HMOs. It's guaranteed safety and the most extensively studied. Who heard about the term called core HMOs? After the 2FL have been added to the milk, somebody raised the issue of the so-called core HMOs. Imagine now, after the meeting, we will go to the salad. Imagine if you find cucumber only. You can't call it salad, okay? You need to make this lovely bowl of salad. You need many ingredients. So it came the concept, God created the human breast milk, he added different types, acidic, neutral, fucosylated, non-fucosylated. So why we don't combine in the industry these combinations to mimic as much as possible the human breast milk? So that's a core of HMOs that we added, not we, the industry added to the milk. And the core may be changing because they discover more HMOs and the relative importance. So what Nestle did is that they put these 5 types, which are representative of the 3 components, the sialylated, the fucosylated, the acetylated. So instead of having 1 ingredient, we now have 3 representatives. Theoretically speaking, we finished the first part of the talk. Let's go to the most difficult part, okay? What are the potential benefits of the HMOs? And we have studies in all these domains: digestive, gut health, immune support, neurodevelopment, and in preterm infants. For digestive health, the potential benefits are quite frequent, in fact, too many. HMOs are prebiotics. They favor the growth of the good bacteria, bifidobacteria, and they hinder the growth of the bad bacteria. So they are probiotics in this sense. We have many studies. We cannot pass through all of them. In fact, we will not pass through them, but we just tell you that HMOs are prebiotics, because we used to put prebiotics in other milk formulas, which are okay. They are proven and they have positive effects, but HMOs goes beyond being a prebiotic. Prebiotic effect is just 1 box from the 9 boxes. Anti-adhesive, antimicrobial effect through how they prevent the adhesion of the pathogens. If the baby received whether breast milk with HMOs or a formula with HMOs, that prevents the adhesion of the pathogen to the mucosa through what is called decoy effect. Anybody knows what's decoy? Anybody? It's an imitation. This is not a real duck. It's handmade, crafted duck. They use it for hunting. They put it in the open air in places where ducks are there. And when they see the ducks see this duck, they go, because all creatures are social. Okay, so they want, and then they catch them. So it's exactly the opposite of the scarecrow. While the scarecrow, it repels, the decoy attracts. And that's what happens. By the way, this is a turkey that have been hunted by a decoy hunting, and you cannot differentiate between the decoy and the other. And that happens with the norovirus and the HMOs. You can see the norovirus get attached to this Y-shaped receptor, which is the same shape of the HMOs. So when you have HMOs in the gut, it attracts the virus. So the virus doesn't get adherent to the intestinal epithelial cells. That's the anti-adhesive effect. There is anti-inflammatory effect, which I don't care about the mechanisms of it because it's too complicated. But let's agree that there is anti-inflammatory effect. More balanced T helper 1 and T helper 2 response. And we all know that the T helper 2 response in early life predisposes to the development of allergy. And in fact, the HMOs adjust this imbalance from early life. Short chain fatty acid production. Imagine that the polysaccharides and oligosaccharides, they are non-digestible, they have wasted energy. They will go out in stools. But in the presence of microbiota in the colon, they are converted to monosaccharides, then to short chain fatty acids. Both of them, by the way, are utilizable and functioning. The short chain fatty acids are functioning. We can take 5 hours to talk about the short chain fatty acids. I'll put them in just one slide just to tell you how important are the short chain fatty acids. It's not designed that we talk about it, otherwise we will have dinner at 6 a.m. in the morning, okay? So this is, just to tell you how important the short-chain fatty acids, nutrition-wise, metabolism-wise, immune-wise, and gut barrier integrity. The HMOs promotes the growth of epithelial cells. It's between the interaction between the HMOs and the epithelial cells in the so-called gene expression, proliferation, differentiation. I hate these terminologies. Okay, in fact, I hated always the immunologists. They always talk about cells that we never hear about. The HMOs is important for gut barrier integrity. We mentioned that the short-chain fatty acids are related to the gut barrier integrity, but these are another mechanism away from the short-chain fatty acids, modulation of goblet cells, of intestinal epithelial glycocalyx, necroptosis, so many mechanisms. They improve intestinal motility, and we have publications, and we all know that having too much intestinal motility can lead to colics and diarrhea. Lazy intestinal motility leads to constipation and gut discomfort, so it's the right balance, and HMOs play a part in this balance. And lastly, and probably collectively because of all these factors, the infant comfort, gut comfort, because of all these factors that we talked about. So the second part, away from the gut health, is the immune support, the HMOs and the inflammatory cytokines. By the way, pregnancy in itself is a T helper 2 situation. Otherwise, there will be miscarriage. The T helper cells would reject the baby from the uterus. But after birth, this T helper 2 situation is not needed anymore. In fact, we need the 2 helper 1 situation. We know that we have inflammatory, pro-inflammatory cytokines and anti-inflammatory cytokines. And of course, HMOs will go in the direction of the anti-inflammatory cytokines and inhibit the pro-inflammatory cytokines. When we go to infections, we have plenty of studies. We will not pass through them. As I mentioned before, we probably need a very long time. But I'll take you to the conclusion of all these studies. For those who receive the HMOs, whether in the breast milk or in a formula, they will have less infections, mainly gastroenteritis, all-cause diarrhea, respiratory infections, antibiotic use, and antipyretic use. There is a link also between the HMOs and allergy, and that's review from Canada. And I want you just to read this yellow statement that probably with these mechanisms that I have mentioned before, including microbiome modification, intestinal barrier integrity, immune modulation, gene regulation, that probably HMOs have something to do with allergy. And that's have been confirmed when they found that the milk of mothers who gave birth to infants who were diagnosed to have cow's milk allergy lacks certain HMOs and have other HMOs. So there is a link. What about the brain and neuro development? Initially, all studies should be done in animals. When it comes to the brain, you cannot play with the brain. And then the studies goes to the human being. And these studies have been done in animals. On the brain, of course, they talk about the brain development. And it was always complicated for me to understand how they will know the brain of the rat or the piglet. But they found that 2 of them are very important. The fucosylated and the sialylated HMOs are important. And that probably adds to the value of having more HMOs in the breast milk. And I want you to read this. And Nestle will give a present for those who will understand this statement. Application of L-fucosan 2-FL increases the potentiation of the population, spike amplitude, and the field excitatory, postsynaptic potential after tetanization of the Schaffer collaterals of the rat hippocampus. Give me a break. What's this? Nonsense. So I started from the end. There is a rat. The rat has a hippocampus, and the hippocampus has certain collaterals, which are called Schaeffer collaterals. And you can do something, don't ask me what is this, called tetanization of these Schaeffer collaterals. And at the end, there is something good, okay? At the end. But I leave it for the scientists. I'm a clinician. But I'll tell you, they studied the fucose and the salicylic acid, and they found it's good. Do we have studies in the human brain? Yes, we have. And that's one of the studies about language development during infancy and its relation to one of the HMOs. But there is a bigger review, and if you go to this small square, I put it here, oh my God, it disappeared. No, it's magic. The blue studies in animals, and the green studies in human beings. So there are studies about the brain development and neurodevelopment, and there are reviews about this. And collectively, and that's one of them, very complicated, they study the cognition, the language, the motor skills, and the socio-emotional development, and they found 5 studies, out of the 6 were in the full terms, and all of them shows positive effects. So HMOs is related to neurodevelopment. What about the preterms? Nick, the nightmare, our nightmare, the neonatologist's nightmare. Etiology is multifactorial, and the question is, can the HMOs play a role? And we all know that those who receive the mother's milk are less likely to develop NIC. Less likely, in spite of being multifactorial. It have been mentioned many postulations and theories. But they link it, they found that those who develop NIC have different set of HMOs. And probably that's in the future. We may need to play with NIC with these HMOs, but we are very far away from that. I'm sure you are tired from all that. So there is just one slide. One study. But it's a nightmare. I'll tell you, this study is really a nightmare. So if you were sleeping, please wake up. And if you were wake up, now it's the time to sleep, because it's really boring and very complicated, okay? And that's the question, the last question about, are there any data about this revolutionary Nestle 5 types HMOs formula? And the answer is yes. One publication, one huge publication, 2020, infant formula with a specific blend of the 5 HMOs, drives the gut microbiota development and improve gut maturation markers, a randomized control trial. It's a double-blind trial conducted at 32 study sites. And we have, in fact, 4, not 3 groups. The control group who received infant formula with no HMOs, then the test group 1 and 2. Test group 1, they got HMOs 1.5 grams per liter, the second one 2.5 grams per liter, and then the human milk as a reference, and we will always compare between the 4. They took fecal samples collected at baseline, at the age of 3 months, at the age of 6 months, and these fecal samples were analyzed for the microbiome, for the metabolism, and the biomarkers. And this is the conclusion. Infant formula with this blend support the development of the intestinal immune system, gut barrier function, shift the gut microbiome closer to that of breastfed infants with higher bifidobacteria, particularly Bifidobacterium infantis, and lower Clostridium difficile. You will regret asking this question. If you want the details, you will regret it. I'll tell you why. You will know by yourself now. We will talk about the good bacteria. We'll take one of each of the 4, the good bacteria. And they studied the relative abundance of bifidobacteria. What do we mean by the relative abundance? The percentage of bifidobacteria to all other microbial species present in stools. And they studied in all infants, in graph number A, in cesarean delivered infants, B, in vaginally delivered. They studied bifidobacteria in all infants. They studied Bifidobacterium infantis. And you can see very complicated. As I promised you, it's very complicated. Let's go to the conclusion. What they found from all these studies regarding bifidobacteria. They found in the GI tract, they are known to metabolize the HMOs. At 6 months of age, the HMOs play a crucial role in shaping the gut microbiome, even after the introduction of complementary feeding, and the 5 HMOs blend promotes a human milk fed alike. So when you give the 5 HMOs, you have a bifidobacterial pattern and number more or less close to the breast milk. Never think that there is something as equivalent to the breast milk. So this is not negotiable. Nestle says this, everybody says this, we know it by heart. So what we are doing, we try to come closer to the benchmark, which is the breast milk. What about the bad bifidobacteria, the Clostridium difficile? They studied the relative abundance, as I mentioned before, how many, the percentage of the toxigenic Clostridium difficile to the total. And you can see here, oh my God, you can see the control group is the green, those who didn't receive. That's at the baseline, okay? And then after 3 months, you can see those who received the HMOs with the 2 different concentrations were close to breast milk, were away from here. And at 6 months, the same trend happened. They are closer to the breast milk and away. So you have little Clostridium difficile if you are using the breast milk or the HMOs. The prevalence, how many, or the percentage of infants who had toxigenic Clostridium difficile. And I want you to look at these numbers. So I'll remove this and I'll put the numbers. You can see these are the numbers. And you can see at baseline, those who received the human milk, they had no abundance, no toxigenic. But look to the comparisons. Remain the breast milk is the best. Here, the test formulas are less than the formula without an HMOs. That's at the age of 3 months. At the age of 6 months, those who received formula without HMOs, 27 or 28% showed toxigenic Clostridium difficile, while the numbers was much less for the formulas and the breast milk. And I'll not let you read the analysis because it's the same concept. We are talking about moving towards the breast milk. Fecal biomarkers. We have 3 fecal biomarkers that have been studied in this complicated research. The secretory IgA, which is a marker of intestinal immune response, the alpha-1 antitrypsin, which is a marker of intestinal permeability, and the calprotectin, which is a marker of gut inflammation. And if you can see the comparisons, you will always find that the trial formulas, whether TG1 or TG2, the test formulas, have been closer to the breast milk away from the conventional formula. I wouldn't take you into the details of numbers. I'm just sending to you the concept, okay? Because we need the concept rather than the details. And then the fecal calprotectin in the 4 feeding groups, and you can see again the statistical significance at the age of 6 months from those who, there was no statistical significance at the age of 3 months. The last part, which is about the fecal pH and organic acids, I think those lab workers were very unlucky because they made all these tests on feces. Imagine that you stay for 6 months studying just feces. Oh my God. And they would tell you, you are working with Nestle. It is the best. Yes, the best chocolate, but not the best feces, okay? And I'm sure they were very unlucky to have this. But look to the results. That's the results at the age of 3 months after the study, from the baseline, 3 And you can see the 4 groups, as I mentioned, the control group, the test group 1, test group 2, and nobody can read this, I'm sure. And that's at the age of 6 months. And again, nobody can read this. Too complicated. So I'll give you the conclusion. When we talk about the fecal pH and short-chain fatty acid, what we call metabolic signature of this, you will find that the test groups 1 and 2 went towards the human milk group, away from the conventional formula. And that's the conclusion that I started with, that infant formula with the specific blend of 5 HMOs supports the development of intestinal immune system, gut barrier, shift the gut microbiome closer to the breast, higher bifidobacteria, particularly infantis, and lower toxigenic Clostridium difficile. We are over. By the way, this was one of the most difficult studies for me. So I should take from Nestle a triple honorarium, because it's very complicated to deal with all these feces in a study. But I have to dig deep, because sometimes we get deceived. We get papers like this, and you think, and when you dig deep, you will find it different. You see, your impression, your first impression was wrong. So I don't take papers and just read it so simply. I have to dig deep to get the data. And without digging deep, we all know that breast is the best. So it's not negotiable. And we also know that HMOs are the 3rd largest component in the human breast milk, and the amount vary considerably. And we have 2 main genes that control the types, probably the amounts, but definitely the types. The secretory and Lewis genes, there are non-genetic factors. They are not simply prebiotics, because some people think that the HMOs are simply prebiotics. And I told you that being a prebiotic is just one of many boxes in the HMOs. And we have many mechanisms of action. Imagine that I put it on fly mode and it still rings. Because of the Wi-Fi, yes, because of the Wi-Fi. So we have many mechanisms of action. One of them only is the prebiotic effect. And early studies focused on 2FL because of good reasons. But now we have more reasons to believe that we need what we call the core, يا عم احمد بقى. لا. What we say the core concept of having HMOs. This guy, Mark Twain, says continuous improvement is better than delayed perfection. Because some people would say, we have hundreds of HMOs. Let us wait until we have a milk with 100 HMOs. No, this is not going to happen. She is perfect. But that's better. And that's much better. Thank you.
You want to run away from questions. Okay, so thank you, Dr. Ahmed Brady, for your nice speech. It was very interesting, full of information, and I agree with you. I also don't like immunology, okay? I have to admit that. So now it's open for questions. Anyone has a question?
Thanks God, nobody will ask.
I have a question that come on.
Okay.
On the floor.
We have already panel discussion at the end for any question needed, but for now, if anyone have an urgent question to ask after this interesting topic, so please feel free.
أسأل
طبعا.
Now, on what basis?
طبعا.
On what basis we decided that these 5, like what is the percentage of each? On what basis we decide the percentage? Although they vary all throughout, like from one mother to another.
The manufacturer.
So the percentage between it's about the studies. We have the data about that. What is the most abundant component of the human milk so far? We have more than 200 HMOs explored so far, and still it's area under investigation. However, from the studies done and run so far, or the data we have, these are the main three families, as mentioned, the fucosylated, the non-fucosylated family, and sialyl. And they all together, so far, around 45% to 50% from the HMOs, all HMOs discovered so far. So it's based on the data so far.
But then the combination, is there a ratio between them, which is like, is 2FL, for example, is the dominant?
Yes, yes, the 2FL is the dominant one, maybe around 30%. The data say that the 2FL is 30%, and the others, according to each type of the HMO, for example, we have the DFL around 7-8%, so cumulatively around 45%. So, and this is a good question, by the way, Dr. Ahmadi, because also it's not about, and Dr. Blady, you can comment on this, it's not about the number of the human milk oligosaccharides only, it's about the diversity. So because each one has a play, or I mean mechanism of action and the smart action it do. So it's not only about the amounts. However, if we talk also about the amount, so these are the three main families with the most abundancy in the breast milk so far. Thank you.
To the best of my knowledge, I agree with Mustafa, but the concept was to have, if you have three major types in the breast milk, then definitely the sialylated have a function that may be quite different from the fucosylated or the acetylate. So they decided to make this combination. You have the three of them. Regarding why you chose these five, I think because they are the most abundant.
Yeah, and the most studied, by the way.
أسأل سؤال غيره. Okay, let's say you have.
أنا الجزء بتاعي جاي بس اسأل براحتك.
Let's say you have a mother, okay, who has, let's say she has low 2FL.
Yes.
Okay, and her baby is supposed to get low 2FL breast milk, and we give them through formula 2FL.
No.
How that will affect?
No way.
Is that
breast milk is the best. It's not about.
No, I mean she didn't have breast milk, okay, and.
Only feeding
so
formula?
She doesn't have breast milk.
Yeah.
So I'll give her the what's on the higher shelf, the best.
I'm asking her. We are giving her 2FL, or the baby. We are giving the baby 2FL, although the mother she is low 2FL.
Maybe
non-secreted.
Maybe the concept of secretor or non-secretor you talk about. Yeah. So it's a genetic factor at the end to differentiate between both of them.
How will it affect that on the baby? Anyone looked into that?
Yeah, we have studies on that, comparing between the secretor and the non-secretor mother. One of the studies, we have many studies, but for example, one of the study run on the group of babies for secretor mothers and the other for non-secretor mother, and then analyzed the fecal matter for both groups to identify the unbeneficial bacteria and the beneficial bacteria. Found that in the secretor mother baby, I mean the baby's breastfed from the secretor mother, having much abundant beneficial bacteria and low abundance of the unbeneficial bacteria. On other hand, the babies taking from the mother non-secretor showed in the results more abundant unbeneficial bacteria versus the beneficial bacteria.
Mustafa,
so this is one of the.
I want to say a comment because this may give you the impression that we have good breast milks and bad breast milk, which is not the case.
Yeah.
We have excellent breast milks and very good breast milk.
Yes.
We don't have bad breast milk because it's not about the HMOs alone. There are plenty of ingredients and biofactors that work in an orchestrated manner. So it's not about HMOs. No, it's HMOs, it's nucleotides, it's immunoglobulins, it's lactoferrin. The list is very long. So we cannot say that there are bad breast milk or good breast milk. But if you have, for example, the mother produces 15 grams of HMOs, definitely would be better than a mother who produces 5 grams of HMOs per liter. Again, both of them are doing great.
Confirming, doctor. And definitely we are not comparing anything with the breast milk, as I mentioned in the beginning. It's not comparable. We're taking the breast milk as a reference from all components as mentioned. HMOs, probiotic, protein. This I will mention maybe later in my slides. So, and even Dr. Ahmed, the non-secretor mother, we have some data now that they have an endogenous secretion of the HMOs. يعني ربنا بيعوضهم that compensates them about
enzymes that
like But so far, it's still area of under investigation, and it's not only about the HMO as mentioned, a lot of components. Doctor.
Questions here. أيوة.
So far, it's limited data in our region. Most of the data.
I'll tell you what studies, the studies that have been done in the area regarding the mothers. They studied the secretors and non-secretors to see the differences. And we have data, I think, from Saudi Arabia that the numbers are not 80% secretors. They are much less, to the best of my knowledge. I don't recall the exact numbers, but there are data. They didn't study the milk. They studied the mothers regarding the secretory and the Lewis genes.
This is right.
And of course, they are different. The percentages of ladies are different.
Yeah. Any more questions? Shall we take from
yes.
Suhar and Salala?
Please, Dr. Ammar, Dr. Nail, if any questions from the meeting room, and Suhar and Salala? No, not now. Sorry?
This is here. Yes.
Oh, this is. Okay. So let's proceed.
Okay.
Doctor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, doctor, please. في question? Any question? He's talking. Doctor, the voice is not clear. So, can you say it again, or maybe you type it on the chat? Yes, I hear you, doctor. Yes, I hear you. سامعك يا دكتور. سامعك كويس؟
السؤال لي كنت
For the RTF, the ready to feed. RTF يا دكتور صح? This is the question. Yes. Yes, we have it in the RTF as well. The same types, yes. The 5 HMO, the same types already in the RTF. Yes. My voice is repeated.
Yes. Yeah, I know, but as we know that the same concentration will be there for retail formula, same like maximum formula or other formula.
It's not.
Most important for retail, just for good aging even, not only for
No, for preterm.
it's for good aging also. I think you
الصوت فيه لاج بس. طيب هو بس to answer the question يعني if I get it right. I'm hearing myself. The RTF already having the 5-HMO in it, but for preterm is still under studies. For the preterm baby, having the HMO in the formula is not there. But we have still ongoing studies, and we have a preliminary very good result about that. Can be in the future. But so far, the preterm formula, we don't have a human milk oligosaccharide in it. We have the RTF. We have in the RTF. Yes, let's move forward, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question. We'll move for the next session by Dr. Saeed Al-Blushi. Dr. Saeed is a consultant neonatologist from Suhar Hospital. He will be talking about GID disorders, burden in early life, and he will try to answer some of the questions, inshallah. Please stay tuned and welcome Dr. Saeed. وديتك صور.
Assalamu alaikum. I know it is the end of the day and it seems you are tired. Inshallah, it will be fast and quick and up to the point. I will just focus on the GIT disorder in the first few days of life and how it can impact on the health of the children later on in their life. So my name is Dr. Saeed Al-Blushi. I am a neonatologist. I would like at the beginning Dr. Muhammad Yahmali for his introduction, and also I would like Fadi Mustafa for this organization. So this is my outlines. So I will talk about the importance of the first 1,000 days. So 1,000 days, it means the time of conception until the age of 2 years on the infant growth. Then I will talk briefly about the gut and the communication between the brain and the gut, and if there is any dysregulation, what will happen to the body. Then I will talk briefly about the common types of the GIT disorders and their symptoms, and I will focus mainly about the functional GIT disorder. Also, I am very happy because Dr. Khawla, Dr. Al-Qasim, our senior gastroenterologists are here, so also they can give us also some information or some expert opinion about this functional disorder. So the first 1,000 days matter because this is the period or the critical period of time that we need to shape the body systems. We need to produce the immunity for our bodies. We need also to shape also the brain because also this is the critical period of time that the brain is growing. So the first 2 years of life is very important. So it starts from the pregnancy until the age of 2 years. And the nutrition, the diet play a role in shaping the body and shaping also the brain. And if there is any, for example, defect or any issue during this period, it may impact on the later on this children life. So as we know, in the early life, the baby grows like 2 times its height and also 5 times their weight, and they gain like 1 gram per day of the brain every day until the age of 2 years. And also the infant and younger children, also they require 7 times more nutrition than the adult, and they require more also micronutrients like calcium, more irons, and also they have a smaller stomach, so they will take only little food comparing to the adult, but they require more macro and micronutrients to grow and to also to shape their bodies. And as we know, in the first 2 years, it is the time also for production of the immune system. And this is the time when there is passive and active immune system production by the immunization or by the infection that they get in the first 2 years of life. Also, at the same times, because of the brain is growing, there is also a connection between different or synapses of the brain. So the auditory, visual, language, also areas of the cerebrum, also it happens during this first 1,000 days. So this is about the first 1,000 days and why it's important, why we are concerned about 1,000 days. And we said the diet and the nutrition is very important for this period of time. So what's the most important organ that deal with the diet and nutrition is the gut. So the gut is the most important organ that we need to also take care of it. So what's the function of the gut? I think everybody is aware about the function of the gut. It is a tube for food, for digestion and absorption. On the same time, it has another roles also, another function like the immune system, also the neuroendocrine activity like insulin secretions, other hormone secretion, and also there is important function is the brain gut also access. So if you see in the slide, 70 to 80% of our body immune system, they are located in the gut. If you see, there are around 100 million neurons, also they are in the gut. And there are around 100 trillion bacterial, also they are found in the gut. See the numbers, it's very huge, and we need to take care about our gut. Regarding to the gut immune system, there is also interaction between the microbiome and the gut, and also the lymphoid tissue, the development of the lymphoid tissue, especially in the first 1,000 days of life. And again, we are human beings, but we are not alone in our bodies. We have a lot of microorganisms. We have trillion of microorganisms, and most of these microorganisms are in the gut. So these are very important for normal development of our gut, and it starts the colonization, the presence of these also microbiota. It starts even before birth, and it continues and evolves with time. Because I am neonatologist, I will show you this neonatal microbiome. If you see, since birth, there is some microbiota in our gut. When we start enteral feeding, the microbiota will change. And with time, there is evolving of the microbiota in our gut until we reach the adult flora. And this is also very important slide about the gut microbiota. And you see at birth, if you see the abundance of the microbiota is microorganism, whether they are bacterial, fungal, or viruses. But here we are talking mainly about the bacterial. Can we have microphone? Microphone. So if you see at this slide, at birth, we have the most predominant microbiota, if you see the E. coli and the streptococcus. And this microbiota comes from mothers, comes from the site of the delivery. So the colonization starts from birth. And with time, after the introduction of the enteral feeding, if you see the microbiota keep changing, if you see the lactobacillus starts to rise, and the bifidobacterium also starts to rise. Yes, this is the concept of the diversity of microbiota in our gut. So is there any factors can affect the normal colonization of the gut? Yes. So there are many factors that can also lead to, different or imbalance of this microbiota. Microbiota, we have healthy microbiota, which is beneficial, and we have unhealthy microbiota, which is bad microbiota. So the duration of the gestation, the mode of feeding, the mode of delivery, the environment, the use of medication, all these may lead to symbiosis, which means the balance between the beneficial microbiota and non-beneficial or bad microbiota. On the same time, also these factors also can lead to dysbiosis, which can lead to also other disorders, one of these common disorder in preterm necrotizing enterocolitis, and it is well studied. So again, this slide also it shows you the impact of microbiota on human health. If you see, it has many function, as Dr. Ahmed Bledi mentioned before. I will not go about this slide. In regards to the gut-brain axis, so the gut is not working by itself. It has a communication with our also hormones. It has a communication with the brain also. So there is a bidirectional communication also between the brain and the gut, which is very important. So when there is a balance in the microbiota in the gut, so there will be normal, communication between the brain and the gut. But when there is dysregulation or there is imbalance in this microbiota, it may lead to increase the immune mediator release like cytokines, systemic circulation. It may impact on the brain also health, which is also well known in cases like, for example, necrotizing enterocolitis, many cytokines or neurotransmitters. So going now to the gastrointestinal disease in children. So the gastrointestinal disease in children, we have two main entities. We have the organic, when we have a cause, when we have problems with the gut tissues or the gut, there is actual cause for these disorders. But the functional, there is no cause and there is no issue with the gut tissue. So this is the main difference, simply, between the organic and functional gastrointestinal disorder. Here, I will try to focus more about the functional gastrointestinal disorder because it will help us to understand what's going on with our GIT system. So functional gastrointestinal disorder is very common. It contributes to impaired function and the quality of life. And also because of the lack of awareness and the diagnostic criteria, as a clinician, we end up with doing more investigation, also end up with also giving more medications, more treatment for such cases. So because of that, there is something called Rome criteria. So the history of Rome criteria, it started in 1989, if you see. This is a combination of psychiatrists and also pediatrician and adult medicines. So in between, they met together, and they come with a criteria based on the evidence. So initially, they just included the adult in the functional gastrointestinal disorder at the early 1980s. Then in 1990s, it was still just applying these functional gastrointestinal disorder in adult. In early 2000 and 2003, they started to include the pediatric or the children group. So in 2006, there was the first Rome criteria about the functional gastrointestinal disorder in pediatric, and we have the updated one in 2016. It's called Rome 4 criteria. So again, what's the functional gastrointestinal disorder? It's very common in all ages, children, and also it has wide range of conditions related to the gastrointestinal tract, which cannot be contributed to structural or biochemical abnormalities. Usually there is no, or it is unexplained cause for dysfunctional gastrointestinal disorder. And also, based on this criteria, they classify these disorders based on the predominant or most common symptoms. It is not based on the location. So they classify into nausea and vomiting, abdominal pain, or bowel habits. If you see in the functional disorder in the infant and toddlers, you will see like G1, G2 until G7. So they start with the nausea and vomiting initially. So infant regurgitations, infant rumination syndrome, cyclic vomiting syndrome, all under one category, nausea and vomiting. Then we have the infantile colic. This is under the abdominal pain, functional abdominal pain, and we have functional diarrhea and functional constipation under the category of the bowel habits. So what's the prevalence of this functional gastrointestinal disorder? If you see, it's 55%, which is very common. So if you have 10 babies, they complain from symptoms. So 5 out of these 10, they may have functional gastrointestinal disorder. It's very common, and the estimation worldwide, 30%, the infant, they may complain from regurgitations, 20% from the colic, and from the functional constipation, around 15%. And also, there are some studies. Also, they studied the prevalence of these functional gastrointestinal disorder between the global or European countries and the Middle East, and they found it's very common in the Middle East comparing to the global areas. If you see in the regurgitation or the infantile colic, you can find maybe the double of these cases. They are here in Middle East comparing to the global areas. So it's very common in our area. So we need to know, we need to be aware about the functional gastrointestinal disorder. And also, there is another classification based on the age of their children. So from 0 to 3, usually we have the colic and we have the infantile or the infant regurgitations, then functional diarrhea, functional constipation starts, and then we have the cyclic vomiting syndrome and functional also abdominal pain later on. So now, why we are considering about the functional gastrointestinal disorder? Why it's very important? Why I'm here talking today about the functional intestinal disorder? Because it has a lot of impact on the short term and the long term. This is one of the study in England, in UK, and they found there is over-prescribing, overuse of over-counter medications, and overuse also of healthcare resources to manage these cases. If you see the general practitioner appointment, it costs around £226 million per year in England because of this functional gastrointestinal disorder. And the admission, it costs around £9 million in UK per year. So it's very costly for the human resources and at the same time for also the healthcare facilities. And also, this is one of the study also done in England. If you see here, this is number of admissions per year. And if you see here, the infantile colic, they were around 1,355 cases admitted only with infantile colic. So just imagine how it may impact on the healthcare services and also the costs per year. And also, it is not like the end. Also, it may impact on the children's health life later on in their life. So this is one of the retrospective study. What they did, they studied more than 100 children, and they compare between the healthy children and the children with the early functional gastrointestinal disorder. If you see here, these babies, they had infantile colic, regurgitations, functional constipation early in their life, and these were healthy children. And they studied this baby or these children at the age of 8 years when they presented with abdominal pain, and they found these babies with early functional gastrointestinal disorder, whatever the functional gastrointestinal disorder, they had more abdominal pain at the age of 8 years comparing to the healthy children. So it may impact also on the children's health later on in their life if it started early. So we need to get concerned about this functional gastrointestinal disorder. Also, sometimes we don't have only one functional gastrointestinal disorder. We may see a combination. We may see maybe 3 functional gastrointestinal disorder within one time. Maybe the baby may present with colic on the same time. They may have also regurgitations and also constipation. So it is also combination of multi or functional gastrointestinal disorder. And if you see also in this slide, 3 out of 4 infants of regurgitation also they suffer from other GI symptoms like colic, like gases, like constipation. So it's very common. Sometimes as a clinician, we see some babies come to our clinic because they complain from colic, regurgitation, and constipation. Sometimes the opposite. They may complain from colic, regurgitation, and diarrhea. So this is very common that they may have more than one functional gastrointestinal disorder. How is the impact on the family and social life? So we talk about the health services, we talk about the health cares, now how it may impact on the family and social life, these functional gastrointestinal disorder. So it has also short impact on the family. It may cause discontinuation of breastfeeding because the mother is tired, fatigued, she doesn't have the energy to continue breastfeeding these babies. So she may go to another artificial milk. The second thing, it may cause also postpartum depression or stress on the mother because the mother is tired, fatigued from crying baby, colic baby. And long term also it may impact because these children usually they present later on with functional gastrointestinal disorder. Are you okay? Should I continue? Okay. So this is the end of, or this is the last part of my talk. So I will just go briefly about the most common functional gastrointestinal disorder, which is the colic, regurgitation, and the constipation, because this is the most common functional gastrointestinal disorder we encounter as a clinician. So colic, I think any mother has a baby, she is aware what's colic and how it's impact on her also daily activities. So it's a behavioral phenomena. It starts from birth until the age of 4 months. It is unexplained crying in otherwise healthy and well-fed baby. And the crying has no apparent cause most of the time, but it is more distressing for the parents, and usually they seek medical advices or medical treatment. Also, it has sometimes long time of uncontrollable crying without any explanation. And usually, when they go to the clinician, usually the clinician try to calm this baby by giving overuse or off-use medications. How common is the infantile colic? Worldwide, it's around 20%, but it ranges between 2 to 70%. Also, the prevalence of the infantile colic. So this graph is very, very nice graph. It was done by one of the pediatrician, but here it also includes a lot of studies. If you see the nature of the infantile colic, usually it starts from birth, but most of the parents, they notice that the infantile colic starts at the age of 2 weeks. It will reach the peak at around 1.5 months, and around 6 weeks, and it continues until the age of 4 months. And usually after 4 months, we don't see infantile colic. So this is the nature of the infantile colic. And there is also a lot of variation in the crying among the infants. Also, one important finding that they find, there is a strong association between the infantile colic and postpartum depression, especially for primary mothers, because of the infantile colic. So it has also an impact on the maternal health. So if the infant suffering from infantile colic, these mothers are likely to have also postpartum depression. And it is a vicious cycle. If you see, the baby is crying, and the mother, she cannot calm this baby. Mother, she cannot have the time to rest. On the same time, baby is still crying, mother will have fatigue, she will go to the postpartum depression, she also will stop continuation of the breastfeeding. And at the same time, because of unexplained crying, uncontrollable crying, the mother, she may shake the baby and she may end with shaking baby syndrome or child abuse. It is a vicious cycle. Infantile colic is very important. We need to educate the families how to deal with the infantile colic. So how to diagnose infantile colic? It's very important. So not all infantile colic is constipation. Many clinicians, when they find infantile colic, they will say this is constipation. It is not a constipation. It is also not a gases. There are a lot of theories. I will come to that point later on. But how we can diagnose infantile colic, it's based on the Rome criteria, it's rule of 3. The patient or the infant should cry at least 3 hours or 3 times per a week, and should be for more than 3 weeks. And at the same time, the infant should be less than 5 months of age, and there is no more symptoms after 5 months of age. And we need also to rule out any red flag signs: no failure to thrive, no fever, no GI bleeding, or any symptoms. And this is the signs of infantile colic. You will see the baby has different signs. They may have red flush on the face, they may have just rising their limbs, they cannot settle also when you just try to console them. What's the pathophysiology of the infantile colic? There are different theories, different pathophysiologies. And until now, there is no clear cause, but it is multifactorial. And there have been a lot of studies just trying to find a solution for infantile colic. Unfortunately, until now, there is no, absolute management for infantile colic. So these are the major, theories or hypotheses: immature central nervous system, family tension, immature of the gastrointestinal disorder, dysmotility, change in the gut hormones. It may also associated with the cow's milk protein allergy, altered microbiota. All these are theories. And sometimes also they mention about the decrease of lactase activity in the infant gut. This is also the same when there is altered gut microbiota. For whatever reason, there is a chance of increased gas production because of these microbiota, and may end with more colic for these babies. So coming to the management. So what's the management of the infantile colic? الصبر مفتاح الفرج. So we need first to screen for warning signs: failure to thrive, any warning signs like regurgitations, diarrhea, constipation, dermatitis. And we need to reassure the parents, and we need to educate them. This is transient phase, and most of the infants, they go through this period. And we need to also educate about the continuation of the breastfeeding, and the support between the wife and husband is very important, because the mother cannot take the stress by herself. So if the mother also is, there are some evidence about the mother's diet. If she takes, for example, dairy products, it may also cause more colics for some babies. So you may advise also the mother to exclude dairy products for 2 to 4 weeks. And also there is a little evidence about the probiotic for such cases. And if you consider cow's milk protein allergy because of the red flag signs, you can consider also artificial formula for such cases.
2 minutes, Said.
Okay. Functional constipation. Then.
Let's finish it here, please.
Okay. So I can summarize the three together in one slide, because I didn't go the functional constipation and regurgitations. So the criteria for functional constipation and the regurgitation, it's there in the room 4 criteria. And first of all, they are functional. There is no cause for them. And at the same time, we need to continue the breastfeeding, educate the parents, reassure them, and we need to exclude the red flags symptoms. And for each also categories, there is also different maybe approaches, how to approach this for such cases. So this is the end of my presentation. I know it is heavy, but this is shortcut about the functional gastrointestinal disorder, and I hope you will get some benefit about it. Thank you.
So thank you, Dr. Said. And let's keep the question to the end. So, yes, it's okay. Thank you so much for the informative presentation. Okay. So we have just a few minutes. Will not take a long time. Just to highlight and to take from what mentioned by Dr. Blady and Dr. Said, and to reflect on our product and the science behind our product, the Nan Opti Pro. Again, this is our important notice regarding the breast milk. And why the breast milk? Because breast milk having the ideal component and nutrition component have the ideal and high quality protein content in terms of quality and quantity. Having the probiotics, and this is the reference for us to have the probiotics from the breast milk to decrease the pathogen, to destroy the pathogen and supporting the immunity. Having the human milk oligosaccharide, and so far 200 type of the HMOs discovered in the breast milk. Having immune cells and the role of immune cells to support the immunity. So it has all the ideal balanced component need to support the immunity and the healthy growth for the babies. Innovation, and this is our theme, innovation using the science, and we are leading on many innovative aspects in baby nutrition. If we talk about the probiotic concept, we are leading on that as a Nestle. The HMOs in our region, we are leading on this also. For the partial hydrolyzed or for high-risk allergic baby, the concept also we are leading on it. So we are innovative and we have a good innovation using the science behind the products for the baby better life. If I talk about the NAN, Opti Pro with the new updates, it's the only component or the only product having gathering of the 5 HMO, the 5 human milk oligosaccharide from the 3 main abundant family and the 5 abundant types. The optimized protein, let's say we say NAN Opti Pro because the optimized protein content in terms of quantity and quality. So it's the closest to the breast milk in terms of the quality and the quantity, as well as having the bifidus lactis probiotic. It's one from most abundant probiotic and well studied in the area of the probiotic. So have the NAN Opti Pro gathering all of this, supporting the immunity, support the metabolism and the healthy growth for the babies. The 5 HMO complex, definitely I will not take much time, just a few minutes after Dr. Brady already did an extensive presentation just to highlight on the key messages or key point, just to ensure that the nutrition play a fundamental role in the immunity and supporting the immunity, because malnutrition lead to impairment of immunity, can lead to infection of the GIT, defect in the absorption of the nutrient, lead to malnutrition, and it's at the end it's a vicious cycle. So it's a closed cycle. So definitely there is a strong correlation between the nutrition and the immunity. Here just to highlight about Nestle effort in the human milk oligosaccharide and to ensure the leadership in this era using the science and research. Nestle having around 55 human milk oligosaccharide related studies since 30 years ago, more than 30 clinical studies, more than 19 studies done on the breast milk to identify the component of the human milk, around 24 preclinical study and breakthrough studies to know the mechanism of action of the human milk oligosaccharide, around 15 ongoing and completed study to ensure the benefit of the human milk oligosaccharide. The third most abundant component, and we mentioned already the 3 main families and the 5 common type, the fucosylated, the 2FL, DFL, the non-fucosylated, the LNT, the sialyl, the 3SL, and the 6SL, and the mechanism of action supporting the good bacteria. And the good thing in the HMOs, it's a selective prebiotic. It's not like a plant-based prebiotic, which allow the growth of unbeneficial or beneficial. HMOs is a selective prebiotic, allow the growth only of the beneficial bacteria and doesn't allow the growth of the unbeneficial bacteria. This is number 1. Number 2, also acting as a decoy because it takes the similar structure for the receptors like the GIT receptors on the surface of the GIT, so it deceives the pathogens. The pathogen instead going to attach to the receptor, attach to the HMO, HMO trap the pathogens away from the GIT tract, as well as maintain the intestinal barrier or GIT barrier function, and also the balance between the T helper 1 and the T helper 2 cell. And this is, as I mentioned, it's not about the amount only, it's about the diversity and having different types of the HMO. Each one can play a smart action to support the immunity. So for example, we have the 2FL with the 3SL and 6SL decrease the pathogens load. Also the 2FL having a playing role in antibody response, having the fucosylated family and the sialyl family anti-inflammatory, it play an anti-inflammatory actions, having all the 5 HMOs together inhibit the pathogen adhesion and the pathogen growth. And this is study already mentioned by Dr. Ahmed from Nestle Research and Development, double-blind control study done on the 4 arms. 2 of them with a human milk oligosaccharide with a different concentration. The third one is a control without any HMO, and the 4th arm, the breast milk, just as a reference group. Even the number of the babies on the breast milk less than the was enrolled on the other groups. To highlight, increase the amount or the endpoint, the secretory immunoglobulin A here showed the increase the amount of the IgA in the 3 months and 6 months to the benefit of the HMO groups versus the non-HMO groups, as you can see with a significant difference. Also increase the total bifidobacteria by around 46%. As you can see, also significant difference between the TG1, TG2 versus the control, and definitely also the breastfeeding is the flowing high as a significant difference. Its relative abundance, as mentioned by Dr. Blady, is the percentage of the good bacteria among all the good bacteria and the bad bacteria or unbeneficial bacteria in the fecal matter for the babies. The OptiPro, and just to confirm that OptiPro and the excessive protein, definitely you agree with me, it's not the best thing. We need to give the protein to the baby to optimize giving amount to ensure the healthy growth, because protein can lead to increase the insulin if excessive protein and poor quality of protein increase the insulin, and the insulinogenic growth factor end up with increase the adipogenic activity, which increase the number of the fat cells, which is irreversible. And we don't want our babies to grow just to be grow or chubby, and at the end this is not a healthy growth. We need to ensure the healthy growth for the babies. Also, having excessive protein can create alkaline media in the GIT to enrich more the unbeneficial bacteria. However, if we optimize giving the protein in a good amount and a good quality, giving acidic media in the GIT tract and enrich more the bifidobacteria or the beneficial bacteria, as well as, excessive protein can lead to more GIT problems. So this is the patent for Nestle company having to optimize our protein content, increase the tryptophan level and decrease the threonine level on removal of the cyclic GMP and in the protein content to end up with this shape. As you can see, in the blue color is a NAN and the pink color is the breast milk. This is the amino acid profile in terms of quantity and the quality. We try to be the close as much as we can. If you see also the threonine and the tryptophan almost the same like breast milk. However, still there is area to improve to reach to the breast milk for sure. A study to confirm that the lower protein formula versus the high protein formula decreasing the risk of the body mass index by 0.5 times. And this study also decreases the risk of the obesity by 2.43 times to the benefit of the lower protein formula. Last part, the bifidus lactis probiotic, as I mentioned, is one of the most studied probiotic embedded in the NAN OptiPro. More than 300 scientific publication, more than 130 clinical study done on this probiotic. And what is the importance of the probiotic? Add on keeping the GIT health, which is play an important role, especially with the HMO, synergize each other to promote the GIT health. Also, it play a role on the kidney because protein and excessive protein end up with the urea, lead to more pressure on the kidney. However, presence of the probiotic decrease the plasma urea nitrogen. So this study having OptiPro or optimized protein in one arm versus optimized protein with a probiotic versus control formula without OptiPro or optimized protein. The plasma urea nitrogen was the highest in the control formula without probiotic or optimized protein, and was decreased by around 16% in the group of the optimized protein. However, in the group with the optimized protein and the probiotic, enhance better, decreasing the plasma urea nitrogen by another more 10% to reach 26%. Why? Because probiotic play an important role in the dysbiosis, and dysbiosis is an alteration of the GIT microbiota, and lead to secretion of uremic toxins and end up with a renal toxicity and renal damage. So having the probiotic, it balance this process and block the dysbiosis, so prevent this health hazard on the kidney. So this is the role of probiotic. It's not only on the GIT and the immunity, also on the kidney. Some additional benefit on the product, having also optimized lipid profile. The DHA become double amount with a ratio DHA to ARA 1 to 1, which is the best studied ratio between both of them, and also palm oil free. So I can summarize in just a few seconds. It's a comprehensive product already with a good evidence behind it, having from the name OptiPro, optimized protein content to ensure the healthy growth for the baby, and having these additional benefits on the lipid profile, having the probiotic and its role on the GIT health, supporting the immunity and the kidney, and now the biggest milestone for our launch today, having the 5 human milk oligosaccharide, the most abundant families and the most abundant types to support the immunity by smart mechanism of action. Here I end my part. Thank you so much. If you have any question, please feel free. Thank you. So I need to deliver to my colleague just in.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. طبعا أنا آخر واحد أوعدكم. My name is Taqi Allawati. I'm the brand manager for NAN, covering Saudi, Oman, and Bahrain. First off, I want to thank our chairman, Dr. Muhammad, Dr. Ammar, Dr. Nail, and of course our speakers, Dr. Ahmed, Dr. Saeed, and of course my counterpart and partner, Dr. Mustafa. طبعا my part will really summarize everything and create a narrative or a story for Non-Opti Pro Gen 3. Okay, and this is the, if you will, the Omani chapter of the innovation that we have. The important notice, it's not there because we have to mention it. It's not just that, but it's because at Nestle Nutrition, it's our inspiration. It's what drives us forward. It's the reference, it's the gold standard. Now, we wholeheartedly believe that breast milk is unequivocally the best start a baby can get across the board. And when breastfeeding is not possible, our purpose and our promise revolves around giving the babies who cannot be breastfed the correct and well-balanced nutritional solution that can ensure the development of a strong immune system for them to grow and to thrive. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have kids, and parenthood is a blessing and a source of joy, but it's also a very complex journey. And this is why at Nestle Nutrition, we give our unwavered support to parents by collaborating with you, HCPs, healthcare professionals, so you in turn can provide guidance to parents so they can make an informed decision when breastfeeding is not possible. Now, when Henry Nestle started, the first product that he created was an infant cereal that saved a baby. And ever since, we've been guided by 155 years of innovation. And a lot of that innovation is gone through research and development. The research and development, in turn, is funneled towards human milk oligosaccharides. All our infant formulas go through more than 500 stringent quality checks across our factories. And being the leaders and those who challenge the status quo and redefine the industry is difficult, but staying on top at the leadership, that's the difficult part. That's the real hard part. And this is why we are proud to stand before you as the true innovators and pioneers in infant formula. Saudi Arabia being one of the biggest markets in our cluster, we earned the trust of HCPs in the kingdom as the #1 recommended infant formulas by pediatricians. That's from the HCP segment. But with parents and consumers, we were voted the product of the year in stage 4 infant formula last year. Now, today is a celebration, but it's also a milestone. It's a milestone in an ongoing journey, and it's a journey of innovation and one of excellence. And as Dr. Mustafa mentioned, the name of NAN is synonymous. It comes together with innovation, right? And this is why today we are very proud to present to you NAN Opti Pro Gen 3 with 5 HMOs. And while others may follow or try to mimic the way we produce our products, in the region, we were the first company to bring 2FL to infant nutrition in 2017, and the first company to bring the highest level of 2FL in the regular formula in 2020, and the first company as well to bring 5 HMO complex to our super premium formula back in 2022. Now we are spreading the power of 5 HMO towards our regular formula, towards our core formula, which is NAN Opti Pro Gen 3. And we're not just in the business of plugging in another HMO. It's actually, like the speaker said, it's about the quality. We are becoming structurally closer to a mother's breast milk, which again is the gold standard and our reference and our inspiration. The Gen 3 has all the 3 main families of HMOs, and the 5 HMOs that we have are among the most abundant in a mother's breast milk. So, NAN Opti Pro is the first and the only infant formula that combines the 5 HMO complex, which is the signature and the marquee of our innovation, and then the 2 segments or the 2 levers that you are used to, which is the patented optimized protein, as well as bifidus lactis, our proprietary probiotic. All this to enhance immune health and to support healthy growth and metabolism. And NAN Opti Pro Gen 3 is available across all stages, from stage 1, 2, 3, and 4, which is NAN Opti Pro Kids. My last slide is a message. It's our slogan, Life Forward. We've been there for decades providing babies who cannot be breastfed with the best solution. And we intend to keep that promise to you, to our consumers, to our babies, going forward and for generations to come. Thank you very much.
So thank you so much, Taqi. So any questions from here, from Salala, from Suhar? Any question here in the meeting room? The question you asked. Okay, please.
So thank you, Nestle, and for the speakers for their nice presentations. You have shown us that the 5 HMOs and the importance of the results from the study with the addition of the 5 HMOs. And we've seen all these biochemical changes. We're getting closer to the breast milk, the secretory IgA, and the other biomarkers that have been looked at in the studies. But as a clinicians, at the end of the day, what we are looking, what are the clinical implications that actually result from this? Increase IgA, increasing. They should have, did they report it?
I got the point. Okay. Thank you so much.
Discrete gastroenteritis, decreased functional GI issues, and the reflux and all of these functional GI diseases that we talked about today.
Very good question, and thank you so much. But just to highlight here, the main objective from a study, as you mentioned, is some biochemical data we need to get from the IgA, from the probiotic, from the all what mentioned by myself and Dr. El-Bledi. This is the main or the primary endpoint of the study. And we have a lot of other studies to correlate between these data and the chemicals or this result and how it reflect on the clinical practice. But in this study, because it's for a limited time, it's for 15 months. So the clinical data you need, it's not reached in this. But however, again, the primary endpoint is not related to the clinical practice or to see, for example, reducing the risk of infection, because this need also some time to prove. And the immunity development needs some time to prove. It's not tangible on the spot. This is my answer. However, definitely a lot of study done to compare or to correlate between the IgA, the probiotics, and the supporting the immunity. Dr. Ahmad, do you have a comment, I think?
Well, it's very clear with every single marker, it has a clinical impact.
Sure.
Okay, and we, before going into this study, we mentioned the clinical relevance.
Yes.
We mentioned them in 4 points. In one, the gut. The second was I think the brain. The third was the preterms,
immunity.
the immunity. So, and the immunity so with every single item, for example, when you do calprotectin and you find it closer to the breast milk, that's a sign of anti-inflammatory effect of the HMOs that have been added.
Yes.
So,
so it's clear.
It's
the same answer.
It's clear.
So it's not for, for a clinical features study, not to prove that. It's prove the data or the results as shown in the slides.
No, there are many clinical
and
data.
And we have many other clinical data. But because Dr. Hilal asked...
With the 5 HMOs, you need to build more data. Yes.
Because Dr. Hilal asked on this study in specific. So just I need to answer this. But we have a lot of other studies to correlate between both of them. Okay, thank you. Any question from Salala, from Suhar? Mariam Sharifa, Dr. Ammar, Dr. Nail? What happened? Any issue? It's okay. So no question. Okay. Any question here? Other question? Question? Okay.
We do have a question.
Excuse me. Can you mute? Because I hear myself again. It's the same problem. This is me. Okay. Excuse me. Can you... So, thank you so much. Really pleasure to have you in our meeting for today, to have such scientific discussion and important launch, and waiting also to hear, we presented a lot of data, but we need definitely to hear feedback from your clinical practice on the ground. So, thanks again, and enjoy your dinner. Thank you.
Thank you very much.